Welcome back to this week's edition of the AGV48 podcast. This week's Parshas Pekudei, the culmination, the topping off, the conclusion of all of Sefer Shemos, and finishing off the details of the Mishkan. The general contractor of the Mishkan, his name was Betzalel, ben Uri ben Chur Lamate Yehuda. The Pasuk tells us in Pasuk Chav Beis that he built the Mishkan. How did he do it? Or what were his instructions? He did it, Eis kol asher tziva Hashem es Moshe, all that God commanded Moses. Now Rashi is bothered by why exactly, or how exactly did he know what God had commanded Moses? Was Betzalel privy to the conversations? Or maybe perhaps did Moshe tell Betzalel how to do it? Says Rashi that actually what happened, filling in the details, the background information, that really Moshe had one way to build the Mishkan, and Betzalel, his disciple, said, "But Rebbe, shouldn't we build it this way?" And Moshe actually agreed, or was mevater on his opinion, and said, "You know what, Betzalel, you're right. Actually, we should build it your way." And what was this discrepancy? Moshe said, first we build the vessels. Let's build the Aron. Let's build the Mishkan. Let's build the Kiyar. And then we'll build the walls around. And Betzalel's like, but that's not the way that people build. We first got to build the walls, and then you start bringing in your desk and your chairs and all of that stuff. So Moshe's response was, your name is very apropos for what you actually are. You are Betzel Kale. You really are in the shadows, in the shade of God, because this is actually the proper way to do it. There's much literature about why Moshe maybe forgot this halacha, or maybe was testing Betzalel for the right way to do it. Be it as it may, we're left with a very interesting machlokas between Betzalel and Moshe as to the order to properly build the Mishkan. Moshe was of the opinion that first we build it the kalim, and then the structure. And Betzalel said, no, first the structure, and then the kalim. Rabbi Yerucham asks a kasha here. Why does it matter? Soif kol soif. If the Mishkan's up, the Mishkan's up. If you have a goal to make $100,000 a year, it don't matter how you make it. You could be learning a kollel. It might take you a little bit longer than a year, or you could buy a lottery ticket, but you probably, or if you get the money, then you have $100,000 in your bank account. Your wife asks you to pick up some things from the grocery store, and then can you also stop and pick up some things from Target? It doesn't matter in which order you do it, as long as you come home with what your wife has asked you to get. But when it comes to Ruchniya, says Rabbi Yerucham, we find that the order, the process, the procedure, the method is all part and parcel to the actual end goal. The order in which the Mishkan was built seems to be a chelek, a portion, an element, a component of the actual completion, the kiyum of the building of the Mishkan. We find this is one of the main chilukim between, again, building in the Ruchnius world, like we find in the Mishkan, and building in the Gashmius world. We find the Mishan Avos, Kol sheyiras chet kaidemas lechachmaso. Anyone who has fear of God and then studies Torah, his chachma will be miskayemes. He'll remain and stay a scholar. But if he does it the other way, he has fear of God and he has Torah study, but he's done it out of order. The process is key. Perhaps even as important to the goal in and of itself is the process. We're saying a chiddush in methodology, that the process that a person takes is very, very important, because taking the wrong route to the goal could end up in disaster. When climbing the ladder of Yerushalayim and trying to grow each and every day, we know the famous mashal that Yaakov dreamt, not really a mashal, Yaakov dreamt on Har HaMoriah a ladder. And it's a mashal for our spiritual growth. We go rung by rung. You cannot jump to the fifth step of the ladder. You need to go rung by rung. You cannot jump to Nikias before you do Zerizis, or Zahiris and Zerizis in Mesilas Yesharim's order of events. You need to go rung by rung. There's a certain seder of events. So, what's the first midah that we should work on that can springboard us or help us to start the climb? I'd like to suggest an approach based on a Mishnah in Avos and something that's very nogeya for this time of year. The Mishnah says, it's a Mishnah in Avos chapter 2, Mishnah 9, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai had 5 disciples, and he asked them, Tzu uru, go on a mission. Ezehu derech yeshara. What is the proper path sheyidbak ba ha'adam that a person should cling to? AKA in English, seems like from the commentators, what midah should a person make his, one main job in life? Is he going to cling to I'm going to be no matter what anti-gaiva, no matter what anti-taiva? Should I be the best davener? What midah is the greatest thing? So, Rabbi Eliezer comes back and says, ayin taiva. Look on your friends with a good eye. Judge them favorably. Rabbi Yeshua says, chaver tov. Be a good friend. Rabbi Yossi says, shachen tov. Be a good neighbor. Rabbi Shimon says, avroes hanolad. Have some foresight. See what happens after you make decisions and what decisions lead to. And then the last one is Rabbi Lazar Omar, leiv tov. Have a good heart. Rabbeinu Yonah asked an unbelievable question. Not to belittle any of these midos here, but having sugar for your friends when they need something for the recipe and by being a good neighbor is a nice midah, but you're going to tell me that's the point of life? That's the midah. That's all-encompassing, that I should spend my whole day to be a shachen tov? A chaver tov, being a good friend. Mayridik midah. But that's that's what Rabbi Yoshua's findings were to be a good friend? Rabbeinu Yonah gives an unbelievable spin, perhaps necessary pshat to the Mishnah. Rabbeinu Yonah says that the kasha was, what did Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai ask his disciples to figure out? What midah will be the springboard midah for all other midos? Which midah should a person dominate in complete and total completion in order to spur him to grow in other midos? I want to explain what I'm trying to say. A person could either work on all different midos all at the same time. I'm working a little bit on kas, anger, a little bit on taiva, lust, a little bit on kavod, being haughty. Or I can completely dedicate myself to one midah and eradicate it from my being and then go on to the next midah. Which one is the best way to go? Rabbeinu Yonah says the second way is the best way to go. Completely dominate one midah. Find the midah that you are perhaps even successful at and absolutely take it from 90% how great you already are in that midah and take it into 100%. Through doing that, it will make other battles of midos easy. An unbelievable chiddush. If you're good at something, then instead of going and saying, I got this one covered, and going to other midos, finish that midah in total completion, then everything else will come by the wayside. So now we go through. Rabbi Eliezer says, ayin tova. That's the midah that a person can easily accomplish. Just decide to look nice on your friends. And then you have that midah in completion and everything else will be easy. And then, chaver tov, it's such an easy thing. Be a good neighbor. Be a good friend. All these different things. Have some foresight. But the last one, leiv tov, have a good heart. Be besimcha, says Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, that's the correct one. Roa ani is divrei Rabbi Elazar ben Arach. This is the correct way. Be happy. Being besimcha is the ultimate springboard for all midos. When starting the spiritual journey, I'd like to say that simcha is a nice place to start because that's the midah that helps you easily to accomplish all other midos. Not saying that it's more important, but kas and kina and taiva and Torah and avoda and gemilas chasadim are easy when you're besimcha. But when you're shori be'atzvus, when you're thinking about yourself, you're constantly worried and upset, lacking betachon, then the smallest things, someone steps on your toe, could lead to an explosion. But when you're besimcha, we've all had this, even the largest thing, someone could, Rahman al-Islam, someone could back up into your car. If you're in a good mood, don't worry about it. It's all fine. It's good. Don't worry. You didn't mean it. Simcha is the ultimate springboard. Mishenechnas Adar Marbin B'Simcha starts now. Simcha is not something that you're born with. You can accept it upon yourself, and there's no time like the present. Perhaps that's why they even call it a present. Pekudei, the end of Shemais, Rosh Chodesh Adar. Where should we begin in our Seder HaAvodah? Where should we begin? Since we find here that the Seder, the order of our growth, has to be in order, perhaps the right place to start could be this mitzvah of Simcha. We should all commit that this month, everything happens for a reason. The Eibishter is in control. In Oid Milvade doesn't mean that Hashem's in charge, but rather everything is Hashem. In Oid Milvado, there is nothing else but Him. And fully commit with a rock-hard commitment, because it's up to us, that Mishenechnas Adar, Marbin B'Simcha. A Moyridik Shabbos.